We are live now, waiting for everybody to join and getting all set up here so I can make sure I can handle the chat that comes in here. Let me straighten up this thing just a little bit. Hopefully it gets a better view of me. That's a little crooked too, isn't it? Hopefully that's good. Alright, so if you are new to this... Alright. I'm not sure if it's working again. I was just getting ready to say, if you're a first time here, that I've been having some problems with it freezing up lately, and if it does that, we usually go for about an hour. So if it does freeze up, I will come back on and resume if it's possible, if I can do that. So, all right. How about now? Are we working? Somebody leave me a comment and let me know. I think we're all okay. We're good. All right. Hello, everybody. Who we got in here? Houdini, Ellen Bloomfield, DT Quail and Rabbitry, Walt, Ellen. Oh, that's Ellen again. yeah, talking about the video freezing up. Sorry. Odai, I think. I can't ever pronounce your name right. I'm sorry if I got it wrong again. Outdoor Adventure, Sean Monahan, Geneva Brown, Kinsey, Samantha McDonald, and Valentina Adrusevich. Oh boy, Adrusevich, I think is how you say that. Hopefully I got that right. And LLJ just made it in. Hey there. All right. All right. Well, hello everybody. I'm doing well. It's been a busy week, but hopefully everybody is doing well there. And let's see, what are we going to talk about tonight? Anybody got anything exciting going on? Are we still going okay? Chat kind of stopped there. There we go. We got a comment in here. DT Quail says, had a doe give birth to 10 kits, but then 30 minutes later she died. Oh no. She had blood coming out her nose and mouth. What would cause this? Boy, it could be any number of things. It sounds like some kind of trauma, possibly a miscarriage of some kind, you know, a problem with the birth. Maybe got a kit that was stuck and she hemorrhaged because of that. Man, I'm sorry to hear that. That's terrible. And, you know, as far as what are you doing with the 10 kits now, you know, it can be hard to hand raise kits. I don't know if you've got another mother you can foster with. 10 kits is a lot to try to foster, but if you've got that, you can try to foster them. If not, try to find a ruptured placenta is what Walt is saying. That's a pretty good guess as well. As far as like taking care of the kits, I don't know what to tell you other than, if you don't have a doe that you can foster them with, hit up a farm supply store, look for a milk supplement, try to feed them twice a day. They should be able to provide you with something like goat milk or something similar to that, and that might work. All right, and then, you came back. You said you were able to foster them all on another mom and weaned her kits at 3 weeks. Weaning at 3 weeks old is a little bit young. You stand a chance of getting like weaning enteritis, which can kill the babies. But if everything worked out, great. I'm glad to hear it. All right, so Geneva says, where is the best place to buy quail? It depends, really, if you're looking for live birds or if you're looking for eggs. Now, as far as eggs, I always recommend Kansas City Quail Farm. Great breeding stock, and they ship well. You're just going to have good results with Kansas City Quail Farm. As good as you're going to get anywhere else, if not better. Great bloodlines. But if you're looking for live birds don't really ship well. It tends to kind of stunt their growth a little bit whenever you try to ship them. So if you're looking for live birds to get started with, I would always look on Craigslist, see if you can find somebody locally that raises quail that will sell them to you live. So it just kind of depends on which way you want to go with that. Hopefully that kind of answers that question for you. All right, Sean Monahan says, my first batch of quail hatched, and now I'm on my second batch hatching next week. Hopefully all 175 quail hatch. It's a lot of birds. Hopefully they all hatch for sure. I'm getting ready to put some eggs in the incubator. I'm not sure how many I'll get. Probably pretty close to 100, so we'll see how many of those hatch out. I've been storing up for the past 4 or 5 days, and we'll start them probably this weekend. So we'll see how they do. Good luck on your hatch, Sean. Hopefully they all hatch, and hopefully you have enough room for 175 baby birds in a brooder box. All right, Ellen says, I'm trying to convince the husband to let me get some Caternix. Well, Ellen, what's the holdup there? Well, is he against it, or And if so, why? Tell him fresh eggs every day. All right, PT Jeff got my first red habits, and good luck with them. I hope it works out well for you. All right, Outdoor Adventures with Dane says, hey, when do jumbo Coturnix quail mature, and when are they ready to butcher? I think is what that's supposed to be. It says butcher, but probably an autocorrect. Let me something here. Are you guys seeing the video getting kind of choppy? It looks like I'm playing it in the background here, and it looks like it is. Or is it just me? All right. Sorry. Got distracted there for a minute trying something to see if that would fix it. All right. Where are we at? When do Coturnix mature, and when are they ready for butchering? Okay. Coturnix generally will mature in about 8 weeks. That's when you should start expecting eggs. The male's crowing, sometimes a little bit earlier, 7 weeks. Sometimes a little bit later, 9 or 10 weeks. But right around 8 weeks is about that time. And from that point, you can really butcher them whenever you want. I usually wait till they're about 10 to 12 weeks, because even once they hit 8 weeks old, they will put on a little bit more weight and get a little bit bigger in the next couple of weeks. They'll continue to grow after that. It's just they slow down so much that it's really not worth waiting that much longer after about 10 to 12 weeks at the most. So hopefully that kind of answers that question for you. All right. Silent Wayne says, anyone here from North Carolina? Just wondering what the laws are concerning quail. Well, I'm not from North Carolina. I'm not sure if there is anybody here. I don't know. Samantha McDonald says, I'm. I don't know if that means I am or I'm and it got cut off. But anyway, as far as I know, there are no laws against raising quail as long as they're not native birds. Generally, native birds, and Coturnix aren't native anywhere in America, so you should be fine with Coturnix. But things like bobwhites are a native bird. You generally have to have a permit to raise anything that's native, whether that be a bird, a squirrel, a rabbit, any kind of wild animal. You can't just bring it in legally. You have to have a permit to be able to raise those. But domesticated birds like quail, which aren't native to or Coturnix quail, which aren't native to our country or your state for that matter or whatever, usually you don't have to have a permit for that. You can check and see, don't quote me on that, but as far as I know, that's the case pretty much everywhere. All right. Yep, Walt's got it. Generally, domestic quail are considered farm livestock. Ellen Bloomfield says, where's the best place to buy an incubator? I'm guessing that one with a fan is better than a still air incubator. Yeah, I would definitely go with a forced air incubator, one that has a fan on it. As far as the best place to buy, it's wherever you can get the best price. Amazon's probably going to be just as good as anywhere else. Unless you have like a farm supply store that's running a sale, or you get a coupon or something like that, you might find a better deal at a farm supply store. Honestly, if it was me and I was buying an incubator all over again, I run a little giant incubator and it works well for me. But if that ever goes out, I'm going to go with a Huvabator. I hear very good things about the Huvabators, so that's what I would do. Walter says, sent you the video last week. Thank you for the feedback. Your help is very appreciated. Walter, was that the video you sent me on the quail cages that you built, I think? And I gave you a little bit of feedback on those, I think. Looked like good cages. So thanks for sharing the video. All right. Yep, local feed store should be able to tell you. Ellen Bloomfield says, in my village, hutches and coops are not allowed. Raise them in a basement, not given enough airflow for 10 to 15 birds. Would raising them in a basement not give enough airflow for 10 to 15 birds? Okay. Well, it depends on your basement, Ellen. But yeah, generally speaking, you're going to be fine to put them in a basement. You may have to run some fans or something like that. If you have windows down there, crack a window so you get some good airflow in there and get some good ventilation. And you're going to have to empty the trays quite frequently. But as long as you keep the trays dry, there's really not that much odor or fumes or any of that kind of stuff that builds up. So I think you would be okay. That would be my guess anyway. All right, so DT Quail Rabbit says, your video convinced me to plant my garden starting from seed. I used to just buy my plants at $3 each, transplanted my zucchini today, and starting my corn. Well, fantastic. Hopefully you're starting the corn in the ground. Corn doesn't transplant really well, so don't start it in pots inside. But, man, I'm glad to hear that, that you're doing well. It's so much more economical to do it from seed yourself than it is to spend $3 or $4, like you said, per plant at the store. You know, all the cabbage and all the stuff that I've got started right now, you know, it's hot here right now, and I knew I was taking a chance that it probably wouldn't do real well, and it may or may not. You never know. But even if I lose all those plants, I've only got like a couple of bucks total tied up in all of that, because seed is cheap. So, yeah, definitely. I think going from seed is the way to go. All right, Sean says, I started to hatch and raise Sarama chickens. Sarama, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. And I have them hatch quail eggs for me. And I had 3 good hatches from April. So nice. I've heard of people using Banty, the small hens. I can't ever remember the names of those. Banta, I think is what they're called. Hens, the little bitty ones. I've heard that. All right, are we back? Let's try this back. I think we're back. Okay, good. Sorry about that. I don't know what I'm having problems with tonight. It's just something. I'm going to have to call my cable company and get a new modem or something on my internet, get that fixed, because this is getting ridiculous. All right, let's see. Where was I? I was talking about using chickens to hatch quail eggs. I've heard of people doing that before and having pretty decent results. To me, it's just easier to do it in the incubator, but, well, that and I don't have chickens. So, but that's why I do it that way. All right, Outdoor Adventures with Daniel says, what is the best breed of quail? I think that's highly dependent. I mean, it's very subjective. It depends on what you want out of them. If you want meat birds, primarily to raise for meat and eggs, jumbo pharaohs, jumbo meat makers, those are going to be probably the ones that are the best. They grow fast, they get big. I find that they seem to be a little bit more mellow, not nearly as aggressive as some of the other kinds. But if you like the pretty colors and you want different variety in there, then whatever it is that you like, honestly. And really, there's not between them. They're all pretty similar to each other, except for bigger, and they are noticeably bigger birds. So if you're wanting meat birds, then I would go with the jumbo. But there are jumbos in different colors as well. So you can go with whatever you want. I personally like the jumbo pharaohs. Those are my favorites. But again, it's a very subjective answer. So hopefully that kind of answers that for you. All right, Daryl says, love your videos. How can you check for cracks in the eggs, or cracks of the eggs in the eggs? Oh, how can you check for cracks in the eggs? Should be pretty obvious. If you have a crack in a quail egg, then you're usually going to notice that, because they don't tend to crack like a one-line crack across there. They tend to kind of crack in like a section. Whenever you put your thumb on it, it's going to feel squishy, like you can push it in. So it should be a pretty obvious thing to check for. I've never really had too much of a problem with it myself, so I don't really find it a big issue. All right, Samantha says, I'm new to breeding rabbits. I have 2 does and 1 buck. After 3 successful fall-offs, I put the does back in their own cages. 19 days later, they build a nest, but no babies came. What am I doing wrong? Doesn't sound like you're doing anything wrong. It sounds like you're doing everything right, but 19 days is very early for rabbits to have babies. And in fact, it's very early for them to build a nest. You need to wait at least 30 days before you give up on them, and I would go 35 days before I give up on them and rebreed them. Rabbits usually have their babies, mine almost always, on day 30, like clockwork. But occasionally there will be one that goes a little bit later than that, or maybe just a little bit earlier than that. So wait at least 30 days, and again, I would say at least 35. All right, so Maria says, I called today North Carolina Poultry Division for question related to permitting. Lots of great advice. And you give the phone number there for, that's North Carolina Poultry Division. All right, thank you for that, Maria. All right, DT Quail says, if you wait for a sale, you can get Deluxe Farm Innovators Incubators from Tractor Supply for only $99. Yeah, I've seen them go on sale, and you know, I think they're probably just fine. The one thing I can tell you about Little Giants Farm Innovations are all going to be pretty similar, honestly. They're probably made by the same company in the back end. I don't know that for sure. I'm just guessing. They are notorious for having the thermostats kind of go out on them and not be 100% accurate. That's why I always say, you know, check it out with some calibrated thermometers. Make sure you calibrate them. Make sure they're not, you know, correctly. But I will tell you, when mine went out, incredibly high. Miller Manufacturing, which is the company that makes Little Giant Incubator, they did a great job of replacing that for me, and it was easy. So they stand behind their products. So I will say that about Little Giant. All right. All right, we got somebody else from, let's see, Southern Chickens from North Carolina says check your local town or county codes. That will apply to livestock. Yep, good advice there. All right, Walt says with all the bobwhite hunting in North Carolina, you might want to consider raising them for stock hunting places since bobwhites cost more start off with Coturnics since mistakes are cheaper. Oh, yeah, good point. Yeah, that could be something if you're looking for a business opportunity. That may be something. I don't know. Check your local area. If you raise them and sell them to hunting places, you might be able to make some money off that. Pretty decent money. All right. Walter says 50 now, plenty of room. Okay, I do remember your video, Walter. Yeah, the one you wanted to know if they had enough room in there. Okay, I remember that. Good. Glad to hear that they're doing well. Samantha McDonald, who did we lose? I'm sorry, I lost track of what was going on. I don't know who you lost, Samantha. I'm sorry. All right, Doug. Have you seen any significant mutations from silver quail, and do you do any line breeding? Breeding quails for specific traits would be a great video. I don't really pay that much attention to it. I just kind of breed the birds that are in there, and there's no way for me to know which ones are the fathers and which ones are the mothers. So yeah, line breeding goes on, but it's not a. I don't do it for a specific reason. I don't really watch it that closely. I have not seen any kind of mutations or any problems from that whatsoever. All right, is that Cornelis? Hopefully I got your name right. First time I've gotten to catch you live. Well, thanks for joining. We appreciate you being here. All right, Sean says, have a great day, guys. It keeps freezing. I need to go. I know, that's probably on my end, Sean. Sorry about that. Thanks for joining, and we'll catch you next week, maybe. All right. Sorry, that's Chicky Poppins. I don't know. Armed American, I'm not sure who you're talking to, but Chicky Poppins, I know that you do sell quail and you sell quail eggs, so there's another source for, I've already forgotten whoever was asking about where to get quail from earlier. Silky Chicken, I finally hatched some quail for the first time. Hatch out of 20, but they're all female. And I'm going to retry hatching more. So, well, if you got 7, they're all female, you did 7 out of 20 is not the best hatch rate, but if it's your first time, it's better than nothing at all, and it's females. That never happens. So, all right, Steffi says, I have quail hatching tonight. So excited. Well, congratulations on your hatches. Hopefully it goes very, very well. All right, Kelly says, YouTube notified me this week. I was able to get on the live feed. Happy Thursday, Chris and friends. 8:12 here in Carolinas, and the sky is still light. I know it's only 7-something here. 7:12, I guess it would be here. But yeah, the sun's still out. These longer days are nice. I don't even have to use the lights on the quail, and they're still laying eggs every day. All right, it may be time to build my cages and get my quail project. Am I ready to do this? Well, hey, if you're ready to do it, you're ready to do it. I can't answer for you. You're going to have to answer that yourself. But, you got a good resource. I got plenty of videos to help you out if you get stuck. And the live broadcast every week to come back and ask some questions. And I'm sure that you'll do well. And as far as the feed being pretty choppy tonight, I know, guys, I'm really working on trying to get that. I have internet, but, it's cable internet. So I think probably everybody else in the neighborhood is on at this time of night as well. And just eats up the bandwidth. Unfortunately, there's not much I can do. And hopefully, I'll contact the cable company and complain about it, see what they do. All right. Armed American says, we are NPIP and AI clean, and we are certified poultry dealers in South Carolina. Chicky Poppins Poultry. In South Carolina, I don't think it was North Carolina that was asking about it. But either way, there's a good source for you, whoever was asking about quail eggs. All right. Yeah, I'm sorry, guys, I know it keeps cutting out. All right, Walt says, starting with eggs or live birds. Eggs require a longer time and more cost, hence more cash. Well, that is true. If you're looking at starting quail and you want to know whether you should start with eggs or live birds, on one hand, eggs do take a little bit more time. There is a cost associated with that, especially if you're ordering and shipping in. They do tend to be a little bit expensive, but you can get really good bloodlines that way too. Whereas if you're buying live birds, you're not really sure what the bloodlines are. if anybody's like, I keep my jumbos separate and my silver separate. Some people just mix them all together, so you really don't know what you're getting. But if you get live birds, you get up to speed really quick because you got live birds, and you're going to get eggs in a couple of weeks probably. And then you can always incubate those out and get experience with incubating, and then buy eggs with good bloodlines, so you don't have to worry about ruining your first hatch or anything like that. All right, Unemployable says, I keep mixed color quail. All my browns are being overbred, but the other colors are doing fine. I keep a 4-to-1 ratio. Should I separate them into different cages? It's up to you. Honestly, Unemployable, they'll probably calm down pretty quick. They tend to get a little bit over aggressive with the breeding whenever it first starts the breeding season. You can, if you're putting lights on them, you can cut the lights down a little bit, and that will kind of calm them down. Make sure you don't have a or 18 hours a day or anything like that, and that should help kind of calm them down a little bit. Otherwise, just wait, because they will calm down as the breeding season progresses. Hidden Bunnies is here. You're not that late. We just got going. You got 100 quail today. Well, congratulations. Glad to hear it, and hopefully they're doing well. I know, Walt, better connection when I was in the Dominican Republic, which makes me think it is my internet and not a problem with the app or anything like that. I'm going to contact the cable company tomorrow. All right, Alan says, hi, Chris. My New Zealand Paris, I guess that's the New Zealand's name. First time mama gave birth to 12 kids, so excited. The mean doe, that first time mama gave birth to 10 babies, has calmed down, so maybe she won't go to the stew pot. LOL, bless you. Well, Alana, I'm so glad to hear that. I was kind of hoping that would happen with my New Zealand Red, but it hasn't. She hasn't calmed down. She's super aggressive, and even when she had babies, she was super aggressive. So, a lot of times you'll find that. You'll find a doe that's aggressive, but once they have babies, it seems to kind of calm them down. They're a little bit more content, a little bit calmer. I was kind of hoping that was going to be the case with mine, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be. So, yeah, it's looking like probably sausage for her. I just gotta do it. I haven't had time. Excuse me. All right, Chloe says, how do you know if a rabbit is definitely pregnant? Well, if she has babies, she's definitely pregnant. I mean, I don't mean to be like that, but it's very, very difficult to tell if a rabbit is pregnant or not. You can try palpating it, but that's incredibly hard to do. It takes some experience. It's not something that I don't even mess with, because it's just very difficult to do. You will, one sure tell sign, but it usually doesn't happen until like 28 days in, is if you throw a handful of straw in there and she picks it up with it hanging out both sides of her mouth and starts running around the cage with it, then that's a pretty good sign she's pregnant. That's probably a pretty good sign she's going to have babies within the next couple of days. So, yeah, but that takes a while too. If you bred the rabbit, I would just assume she's pregnant, put the nest box in, wait 35 days at least, and then you can rebreed her at that point. I know that's not what you want to hear necessarily, but that's really the best advice I have. All right, Hidden Bunny says, is it okay to put a baby rabbit with an adult? It depends on a lot of things. I personally would not do that for a number of reasons. One is rabbits can be very territorial, especially does. If you put a baby in there, there's a good chance she's going to kill it. Secondly, if you put them in with a male, as soon as that, it's going to try to breed that baby if it's a female, and it's going to try to dominate it if it's a male, and it's probably not a good choice. You might get away with it, but I don't think I would take the chance. That's my personal opinion. All right, 355 to C says, my daughter helped me clean out the rabbit cages and put it all in the garden. Quail and rabbits doing great. My husband is so proud. Good to hear. Rabbit manure is fantastic fertilizer, and if you don't know this already, it's a cold manure. You don't have to compost it first. Now you do with your quail manure, it's a hot manure. You really want to compost that before you add it to your garden or add it to your plants. It can burn them, too much nitrogen in there. But rabbit manure can go straight on, and it's fantastic. It's one of the best fertilizers out there, in my opinion. Outdoor Adventures with Daniel says, which breed of Coturnix quail breed has worked out for you? I think I answered this, but since the video's all freezing up, I'll answer it again just in case you didn't hear it. My personal favorite is Jumbo Pharaohs. I really like the Jumbo Pharaoh Browns for a couple of reasons. They do seem to be calmer, not nearly as aggressive as some of the other colors, They grow fast, 8 weeks or 8 to 10 weeks, and they are pretty much full grown. They lay some of the biggest eggs of the Coturnix quail, which, I mean, marginally bigger than the other eggs, but still biggest. And I like that they're brown because you can just look at them and tell which ones are females and which ones are males. So I like to be able to just see that and make it easy to sex them. So those are the reasons why I like those. Isabel's here. Says, I was out of quail raising but came home Sunday and found 4 sitting in a cage in my driveway. Really? Somebody brought you quail? Is that what you're saying? Like they brought you quail in a cage and just put them in your driveway, huh? Interesting. Danae Smith says, hey Chris, is it okay to move both buck and doe to a different location for breeding, or is it best to put the doe in the buck's cage? You know, I don't know. I guess you could move them both to a separate location. I've never done that, honestly. One thing you don't want to do is never take the buck to the doe. Always bring the doe to the buck. Does get very, very territorial. And, you know, if you throw a male in her cage, she's going to get mad, and it's not going to be pretty. So always bring the doe to the buck, but if you want to take them both to another location, I think that's probably fine. You can probably do that. The one thing I would say is a lot of times when you put, especially bucks, they tend to want to mark their territory. So when you put them in a new location, they're going to walk around and rub their chin on everything. That's kind of how they mark things. So you might get all preoccupied with that and not want to breed. But try it out and see. It may work pretty well. All right. Ellen says, Isabel, friends or enemies leaving quail for you? Well, hopefully friends. And I don't know. I would say that we're friends if they're leaving me quail. All right. Alana says, I forgot to mention I also built larger cages, 24 deep, 24 high, and 48 inches wide. More room, possibly making them happier. Alana, I forgot where we were at with that. Oh, you're talking rabbit cages, right? Yeah, I do my rabbit cages actually bigger than that. 24 by 24 is probably good for a buck, but for a doe with babies, I like to go at least 36 by 30. Just to give them a lot more room. But well, 24 by 48 inches. Okay, that's not bad. That's better. I was thinking 24 by 24 around. So that's not bad. That's pretty good. Okay, good. Sounds like you got a good setup there. All right. All right, what do you think? Okay, Alana's wanting to know, what do you think about the colossal breeds? I think you're talking about like Flemish Giants, the great big monster rabbits. They don't really make the best meat rabbits. Their bone to meat ratio is a little bit low, so you don't get as much, or a little bit high, I should say. So you don't get as much meat off of them for the size of the rabbit as you would off like a New Zealand or a California or a Florida White or one of those more traditional meat rabbits. They also take a lot longer to grow out than usually those Californias, New Zealands, you know, whatever the meat rabbits usually do. So they're not really the best for meat rabbits. I did have a giant chinchilla New Zealand cross that was a pretty decent meat rabbit, but other than that, all the New Zealand Flemish Giant crosses I've ever had, not the best meat rabbits. They just don't have as big a litters. Typically, I'm not saying there's not exceptions. They don't grow out as fast. Their bone to meat ratio is not as good. So that's my opinion on them. All right, going to start raising quail this summer. This is Ronnie. Can't decide on what incubator to go with. They all seem to have bad reviews. Yeah, well, Ronnie, they're going to probably, but clear my throat here. They're probably going to have bad reviews. Some of that may be, I mean, you're going to have problems no matter what you go with, unless you go with a high-end incubator, which costs too much to even really justify. There's probably going to be some minor things that are wrong with them. I mean, you are basically incubating in a styrofoam cooler, you know. So, I mean, they're not the absolute best you can get. But, you know, mine's worked pretty well, my little giant. I've had it for several years, and it's done a great job. The bad reviews may also be coming from people that don't really know how to incubate. So they buy an incubator. They read the instructions in the incubator. It talks about turning it on, filling it with water, all that kind of stuff. They do that, and then they don't get a really good hatch rate. But they didn't maybe turn them enough. They didn't take the plugs out, the vent plugs out, so they didn't get enough air. I mean, there's a number of things that could go wrong with that, but they blame it on the incubator. So that's why they're giving it a bad review probably. We've answered this question a bunch, but I would highly recommend if you're looking for a new one, go with a Huvabator and go with a forced air Huvabator. I keep meaning to look this up because every time I get asked, I always have to say, I can't remember the model number. I think it's a 1602. 1602N comes to mind, but check that, make sure. It should be a forced air Huvabator, Hovabator, I hear really good reviews about those as far as all the styrofoam incubators go, and that should do you pretty well. All right. Chicky Poppins Poultry also has Great Pyrenees puppies for sale. They have 16 right now. Very beautiful dogs. Great Pyrenees are pretty dogs. My neighbor's got one right now. Great big dogs, but they're good, and they're good to have around, especially if you live in an area that has lots of predators. They do a great job with keeping the predators away. So Isabel, your friends are stopping breeding, and they just brought you their extra quail, huh? Nice. All right, so Hidden Bunny says, hey, Chris, remember when I asked you that quail question on how to sell my quails? Well, what if it's 12 weeks old? Would I need to sell them for $12? Well, Hidden, you're going to have to, and I don't remember specifically, I'm sorry, I get asked a lot of questions, and it's hard for me to keep straight who asked what and, what. But $12, I've never seen quail go for $12 around here. It's very rare that they go for over $5. $5 is about the max. Usually it's about $1 a week up until they get about 5 weeks old, and then from then on it's $5 a bird. That's generally what I see them go for around here. Every once in a while somebody will try to claim that their birds are so rare and they'll try to sell them for $6 or $7 a bird, but I don't think that ever happens because there's enough of them going on, for $5. But hey, look around, see what people are selling them for in your area. Just do a search on Craigslist and see what they're going for, and then that'll give you an idea of what they sell for. John B. got a cheap, it was at Janol, I think is what it is, Janol 12, one of those small, that's the dome-style incubators, I believe. They're not styrofoam, they're like plastic. I think I've got the right one in mind here, and says it's working great, so glad to hear that. Oh, Alana, you were talking about quail colossal breeds. I've seen them online. I was thinking of getting the Flemish Giants, too. Thank you for clearing that up. Okay. So the colossal breeds, by that you mean the jumbo breeds? As far as, I love the jumbo quail. I think jumbo quail are the way to go. Especially if you're looking for meat birds. A standard quail is just, there's not a lot of meat on it. And not that there's a whole bunch on a jumbo, but there's more, significantly more on a jumbo than there is on a standard bird. So yeah, I definitely love the jumbo birds. All right, Rebecca says, hi Chris. Processing my first quail rooster this weekend. Any support or advice for the first time? I watched all the videos I can, but I'm still a little nervous about it. Yeah, if you've never butchered an animal before, it's going to be a little nerve-wracking the first time you do it, especially if it's the act of dispatching the animal that takes a little bit to get used to. Even, I'm a hunter, and I've hunted all my life. I've fished all my life. I've, butchered plenty of game. But the first time I had to dispatch one up close and personal like that, it's a little nerve-wracking. It's a lot different than shooting an animal at 100 yards or 200 yards out or whatever when you're up close and personal with your bare hands, so to speak. That's not how I do it, but you get the idea of what I'm saying. So I would say just convince yourself to do it, commit to do it, and do it. Don't think too much about it. Don't let it get into your head. Just do it. And be deliberate when you do it. So, the way I dispatch my quail is I knock them on the back of the head. I take a screwdriver, it's a long-handled screwdriver, knock them on the back of the head, and then immediately snip their head off with scissors. Knock them on the back of the head to stun them, and then snip their head off with scissors. And you don't have to rush to the point of, dropping things and all that, but you want to be deliberate. You don't want to tap it. You want to knock it on the head. You want to snip and take it all off in one snip. Don't be timid about it. That's my best advice I can give you. And it won't be as hard as what you think it's going to be. You'll get through it, and you'll think, why did I ever worry about that? It'll be easier than you think. All right, Bill's coming in talking about the incubator. It's a 1604N. That's the Hubabator model, and he says had very good luck with it. Thanks, Bill. I appreciate that. All right, here in Panama, it's $4 each. Are you talking about selling your quail? Yeah, they go for $4 in each. $4 each in Panama. That's pretty close to what they go to around here. So, Bill, you get $13 for roosters. I can barely sell roosters here. It seems like that's the thing that everybody's got plenty of. But, man, I need to go to Nashville and sell some birds. That's crazy high compared to what I usually get. Rebecca, thank you so much for the $1 super chat. I appreciate that. But, yeah, $13, if you can get it, heck, I'd be breeding birds and selling them all day long if I can get it. Hey, Boris, how are you? Good to see you. All right, DT Quail and Rabbitry says, I have both Farm Innovators and Little Giant Incubator. I get better hatch rates out of the Farm Innovator, and the digital controls are more helpful by tracking days for you, and it comes with extras. Hey, that's nice. It actually keeps track of the number of days you've been incubating. I always just write it on the label and stick it on the, the day that I started the incubation, stick it on the incubator itself. I have to keep track of it myself. Not that it's that hard, but it's pretty nice that the incubator will do that for you. I never knew that. All right, Walter's talking about the Incubator 2370. I'd have to look that one up. I'm not sure if that's it or not, but for 75 bucks on eBay, that's a pretty good deal. All right, John B says, just had my first batch of 6 Japanese quails hatch, and they're all hens. Debating myself whether to get a male. Are you sure they're all hens, John? If so, that's the second person that said the only ones that hatched were hens. I did a study on that a while back, and I did a video. Excuse me. That incubation temperature can have an effect on that. It's not that that a higher incubation temperature, I can't remember how it worked out. I think it was higher one meant you're going to get more females. And it's not that it's going to it doesn't change the sex of the birds, but what it does is a higher temperature seems to kill off the roosters. I think it's a higher temperature. I may have that backwards. I have to go back and look at that video in my study and the notes I took on that. But, so if your temperature is a little bit high, what happens is the roosters tend not to hatch. So only your hens hatch. So it's not that it changes, what hatches, but that could be something to look at in there. If I was you, John, yeah, I'd get a rooster. If you want fertile eggs and you want to hatch some more out in the future, you're going to need a rooster. So yeah, I would definitely get one. What you're going to have a hard time with, though, is adding one rooster to 6 hens. They're probably going to just beat the tar out of him. So what you may want to see is if you can trade like maybe 2 of your hens or 3 of your hens for 3 hens and a rooster. And you may have to throw a little bit of money in there. In fact, you could go with 4 hens and trade them for 3 hens and a rooster. You'll probably find somebody that will do that, and you're still going to end up with, well, let's see, where are we at? Maybe more like, you probably don't want to go that far. You got 6 birds. You probably want to go with, I'm trying to think through the math in my head. If you can even it out to where you got 3 new birds, 3 existing birds, and you add them together, that will kind of minimize the fighting that goes on as they're being introduced. All right. Rebecca says, can a Flemish giant throw a litter with dwarfism? Well, I suppose they could. I don't know that if I've ever heard of it, but I'm not real experienced with breeding Flemish giants. I guess anything's possible, though. All right, Armed American says, if you'd like to see some homemade incubators for hundreds of eggs at a time, check out Dexter's World on YouTube. So he made some homemade incubators. I've had some people ask about asking me to do a video on homemade incubators, but I haven't made my own incubator. I just use a store-bought incubator. So that's a good source. I may have to refer them to whenever they come up with those questions again. Yeah, Bill says the same thing. Never just tap the head, whack it right off. Yeah, I smack them pretty good in the back of the head. That stuns them, and then I snip their head off real quick. I do find that, in my video, if you've watched my video on how to butcher quail, I didn't do that at that time. I just snipped the head off. But I do find that stunning them first does, I think maybe it's a little humane. I don't know. It makes me feel a little bit better about it. So that's what I do. All right, Chris, if you could guess, should I put a pool in my yard for the ducks? Well, Hidden Bunnies, it really kind of depends on, do you want to be cleaning a pool out all the time? Because it's going to get filthy and you're going to have to empty it out like every couple of days and refill it. Ducks don't actually need water to swim in. They do need water they can get their head in. They need to be able to get their head in the water. So, large 5-gallon buckets, any of those kinds of things are going to work out well. They will like a pool, so it's not a bad idea for you to add one to it. Just make sure that it's one that's easy to dump out and one that's easy to refill. That would be my suggestion on it. And the cousins made it in. You were not late. Don't worry about it. We still got some time left. We got about 20 minutes left, so glad you're here. So, John, you're sure they're all females? They're all speckled? Fantastic. Glad to hear it. Yep, DT Quail's talking about incubators. Get one with a fan, not a still air. You will get better hatch rates. Yeah, a fan definitely is a good idea in an incubator. Okay, so Walter, the 2370 is the air circulator one. Okay, thanks for that. I appreciate that. Southern Chicken, thank you so much for the $1 super chat. And Alana Sparks, a $10 super chat. Oh my goodness, thank you so much for that. You guys humble me. I appreciate that. Walt's going on a soda run. I brought mine with me, Walt. I'm never too far from a soda, which is probably why I have terrible teeth and they're all falling out. But all right, Bill Tommy says, I find that breeding for larger breasts gets more interest. Quails, I mean. Now, there's a joke in there, Bill, but we won't say that because this is a family channel. But yeah, I think you're right. If you can get bigger birds, then definitely brings more interest. The thing that I've noticed is around here anyway, it seems like everybody's got jumbo birds. So they're not really rare. It's pretty common. And that may happen in your area as well. I don't know how big your market is, how many people are into raising quail. But especially with you selling them all the time, they may end up getting saturated at some point. And, the prices are going to drop a little bit. That's just the way the market works. But that's okay. I mean, even at $5 a bird, I can usually grow mine out to almost adulthood, sell a handful of them off for $5 and make enough money to pay for my quail food. So I usually get my quail food. I mean, I pay for most of my quail food, and I only sell 10 or 15 out of every hatch. All right. Thanks for the incubator information. No problem, Ellen. Glad that we could help out. Bill says, lately I've had trouble with my rabbits. When I perform circumcisions, they lose libido. Why are you performing circumcisions on your rabbits? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that's a joke, but there's no reason to do that. Okay. I'm going to leave it at that because I don't know if you're being serious or not. All right, the cousin says, how soon can you breed a mom after her kits are weaned? You can do it before her kits are weaned if you want to. Lots of people will breed their rabbits out at 2 weeks after their litter is born, and then they wean off at 6 or 6 weeks old. So then there's 2 weeks right there, or roughly about the same time that they're going to have the next litter. I generally wait until I wean all the babies off at about 6 to 8. Well, about 8 weeks usually is when I wean them off, and then the next weekend I'll breed her. So that's what works well for me. But you can do it any way you want to. I mean, you can do it before, you can do it the week before you wean them off, however you want to. It's all going to work out pretty well. Pepsi Max, no sugar, Walt. I can't get away from the sugar. I can't stand the artificial sweeteners, but that's just me. Hidden Bunny says, Chris, how do you promote a channel? You mean like a YouTube channel? Boy, there's a lot of ways to do that. I'm not the YouTube expert, even though I do have a channel. I'm not the YouTube expert, and honestly, I don't know that I do a great job with my YouTube channel. I mean, I appreciate you guys coming in here. I appreciate all my viewers. I love the interactions that we have. But one thing I don't do is I don't do a good job with the vlog style, story style videos. Keeping up with just telling a story. I do mostly instructional how-to videos. And what that means is I get lots of people that come in and watch my videos for a while, and then they get all the instruction, and then they don't come back and watch my videos. So, that's okay. But Chicky Poppins with a $10 super chat. Thank you so much. You guys are, you're overwhelming me tonight. I appreciate it, though. So anyway, I'm not sure I can tell you how to promote a channel. It's a lot of, make videos that people want to watch, share those videos on social media, and eventually, if you just keep at it, you will gain audience. People will come in. Walt says, try diet soda for a week and you won't go back to sugared soda. I don't know. I've tried lots of diet. I cannot stand that artificial sweetener taste. I think that it's I think it's like cilantro. Some people love cilantro, and then some people it tastes like soap. So, which is a genetic thing. They're just genetically predispositioned to have it taste that way. I love cilantro, but I think artificial sweeteners are like that too. I think some people, I just get a horrible, terrible aftertaste from our artificial sweetener. I've tried drinking diet soda, and I just can't do it. What I need to do is quit drinking soda, period. I mean, I'm like 40, how old am I now? 44 years old, and most people my age have a beer belly. I have a soda belly. I need to cut back on the sugar intake for sure, get the, lose a little bit of weight. All right. Kevin says, I can't figure out why my rabbit doesn't have kids in the nesting box. First time it happened, then had a litter of 8, lost 2. Then last time she had them on the grate again. I think it's time for freezer camp. So okay, so she's having babies but not having them in the nest box. So that that could be any number of things. That's the the telltale sign of some bad mothering experience. If she was a first-time mom, I usually give them about 3 times. The third strike, they're out. As long as she's taking care of them once you move them into the nest box. And losing 2 out of a litter of 8 is not terrible. So I wouldn't really hold that too much against her. I might give her one more try, but then, like you said, if it's the same thing again, then yeah, I'll look for another rabbit, send her to the freezer camp, because it's just so much easier when you have does that are good mothers. Daryl says, your video is better than everyone else. I've learned a lot. Well, thank you so much, Daryl. I appreciate that, and I am so glad that you find them helpful. That's really the whole reason I do this channel, is just to help people out. Hidden Bunny says, how do I give you money? You don't have to give me money, Hidden Bunnies. I appreciate that. The super chat that you keep seeing pop up is, and honestly, I can't remember exactly how you set it up, but should be at the bottom of the chat, there's a little $ thing there. You have to have it set up somehow ahead of time to be able to do it, but that's how you do it. You go through that, and it's a super chat. What it's really meant to do is to, like when you're in a chat room, and we have 31 people in here, so the chat's not overly busy, but if you're in a chat room that's overly busy, then the super chats stand out, so it's more likely to get your questions answered. I try to answer every question regardless, but I do appreciate you guys throwing a few dollars my way every once in a while or something. I'm not holding it against you. If you don't worry. I'm not looking through here and saying, you didn't give me money, I'm not going to answer your question. That's not how it works. All right. Armed American says, I believe you deserve a few bucks for your time and your information. Well, thank you so much, Armed American. I appreciate that. Hopefully, I know you're always on the live broadcast, and I appreciate you coming in here, always willing to share your advice with us. I appreciate that as well. And, I hope that you're getting some good publicity for Chicky Poppins Poultry, and hopefully you're getting, some orders that come through from that. And Kevin with a $2 super chat. Thank you so much, guys. This is, I think, a record. I think we're up to $25 in super chats tonight. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. All right, Walt came in with a comment here. Duck pool idea. Put a drain plug in the kiddie pool, hook drain to take manure and muddy water away, like maybe to the garden, and then replace the plug and fill it. Yep, that's exactly how I would do it too, Walt. I think that's a great suggestion. John B says, next to emoji. Oh, the $ is next to the emoji icon. Yeah, you're right. Rogolf, Texas says, incubation quail had 5 of 12 die. Not sure what I'm doing wrong. Did find out that birds hatched early will pick on late hatched birds, moving them out. Your thoughts? I've never had too many problems with the birds that hatch early picking on the newly hatched birds. At least not to the point of like really doing any kind of damage or anything like that. One thing I do is I take a piece of paper that are the size of the windows, and I cover the windows. I'm looking over at my incubator right now. I don't know why. You guys can't see it, but I cover the windows up, and that makes it dark inside so they're less active, so they're not just running around the whole time. Try to give them at least 24, sometimes 48 out the ones that are hatched and dry. More water real quick and close it back up and let the rest of the birds hatch. That's the way I do that. So, and John B sent me one. Is that a pound? 1 pound? Thank you so much. I appreciate that. All right, Hidden Bunny says, Chris, do you have children? I love children. I do have kids. Actually, I have a stepson right now that lives with us. I have 2 kids from my previous marriage. I'll tell you guys the whole story here. They're not really my kids by blood. They are my stepchildren from my previous marriage. My son, he calls me dad. I call him my son. He was 2 years old when my ex and I got together, so I think of him as my son. My daughter, she was a little older, but she thinks of me as kind of a father figure, I guess. I think of her as my daughter. Her kids, I consider my grandkids. They call me grandpa. So you will hear me talk about my grandkids, my kids, those kinds of things. So yes, I do have kids. Love my children, love my family. All right. Isabel says, we all love the live chats. Instructional videos are great for reference and glad you can take time to share them. Well, thank you so much, Isabel. I'm glad that you guys find the videos helpful and you enjoy watching them. All right, Walter Camp says, thinking of doubling my quail population. If you have a chance, Could you look at the video again? Yeah, let's see. You sent it to me through, was it Facebook Messenger that you sent that to me? I got to find it again. I can't remember where it is. But yeah, I'll try to take a look at that again. And you're talking about, like, look at it to see if you've got enough room to double your quail population. If I remember right, I think, wasn't that like something like 50 square feet or something like that? I can't remember exactly. We'll talk about it again. If you want to hit me back up, like however you got me the first time, hit me back up that way. I'll see what I can do. 3 children is an overload. Well, you know, they're not at home. I mean, I've got 1 at home right now, not 3 at home right now. And they're none of them are babies, so. GDP is Great British Pound. Yep, okay, yep, I got that. Thank you so much again, John. I appreciate that. RPG from Arizona. Welcome to the live chat. Glad you could make it. We're getting close to wrapping this up. We got about, what, another 9 minutes left, I think, and then I need to get it wrapped up, go spend some time with the family that I love. And what else we got? The chat just kind of suddenly stopped. Are we still going? Is the broadcast still going? It didn't freeze up again, did it? Okay, still going. Good. All right, so let's see. Do I have a good story to tell you guys? I'm not sure if I do. Hey, let me tell you one thing, though. I really do want to thank you guys. Every week you guys come in here. You keep me talking. You give me, questions. You feed me stuff to get me talking. So you guys are really, just as important for making this broadcast possible. If nobody was here, I wouldn't have anything to talk about. So I probably should plan some topics for whenever the chat is slow, so I'd have something to talk about. RPG, how do quail do in the heat? That's a good question, Walt. I can tell you how quail do in the heat here. They're not bad, but we're not Arizona where it's 120 degrees out. We get pretty typical in the summer around 100. And I don't know where you guys are from, and you guys are in the States anyway. I don't know where you guys are from, but here it went from like 2 weeks ago we had like freezes. I mean, like it was frosting overnight. And then like last week it was in the 70s, and this week it's in the mid to high 80s. It got to 87 degrees yesterday. It got to 85 degrees today, and it's going to be like 88 degrees tomorrow. So I mean, just boom, from winter to summer, just like that. And it does affect the quail and the rabbits. The quail will start panting really about anything over 80 degrees. As long as you give them plenty of water, shade to get in, they seem to do okay. But again, 120 degrees like it is in Arizona, that might be a different story. I'd be curious to know how they do there as well. Okay, Hidden Bunny says, can you please check out Two Guys in a Coolers channel? Is that your channel, Hidden Bunnies? 2 Guys in a Cooler? I'll try to remember that. I'm not going to say I will check it out because chances are I'll probably forget. I got so many things coming at me, YouTube comments and all those kinds of things. If you come back to this video after it posts, after the live broadcast is done, and post it as a comment on the video, then I might be able to, it will help me to remember, and I might be able to get that checked out. All right, Ellen says, can you recommend a ready-made quail pen? I'm not sure that there are any ready-made quail pens. I mean, there are like battery cages, and there's one company in the States that makes, they're like stacking indoor cages. I can't remember the name of the company all of a sudden, but they're pretty famous. And who knows, anybody know the name of the company that makes quail cages? I think it's a U.S. company. Goodness, I can't think of them all of a sudden. But I hear really good things about their cages. If you have any kind of, ability to build things yourself, it's really pretty simple build to make. You might be able to find somebody that can put one together for you. That would be the way I would go. You can buy like pre-made chicken coops and things, but I have not found one that is not made of cheap Chinese fur. And honestly, I don't believe that they last very long. And I don't think that they're gonna be very good for quail. Honestly, they're just not made for quail. All right. Unemployable says, what's the most you have had at any one point? The most numbers, the most different kinds. I don't know that I can answer that. I mean, I've had up to 100 and some odd quail at one time, plus the 4 rabbits, or the 3 breeder rabbits, and litters there. So there's probably 23 or so rabbits. My dog had a cat for a while. I don't have any more, but so I don't know that I can answer that. There was a time when I was younger where I bred snakes and lizards and things, and well, I had like 60 some odd reptiles at one time, so that was quite a few. I don't know. I'm not sure what the most number I've ever had is. All right, RPG says, I watch every video on hatching quail, and I have about 100 for sale now. They go fast. Well, fantastic, RPG. I'm glad to hear that. Maria says, getting first time quail this weekend. Thanks for all your videos. They're 3 weeks old. Our hutch is set up like yours and outside 40 total to start. Any advice would sure be helpful. I think, you got your quail hutch set up. You're starting with 40. That's a pretty good number to start with. Put them in the shade. Make sure they have plenty of ventilation, fresh water, and keep their feeders full. That's really about all there is to it. You're going to do great, I think. If you run into specific problems, come back. Let me know. I'll do my best to answer those questions. I really try to answer every single YouTube comment that comes in. I miss one every once in a while, but I think I get to most of them. All right. RPG says, the baby, they are on a ground cage, and they are okay. No heat lamp. Oh, yeah, I bet in Arizona you don't need the heat lamp, probably. Walt Lars says, 6 of my last 10 days have been over 90 in inland Southern California. Yeah. It just, well, I guess that's not that rare. You're in California, Walt. So, but, we went from, seriously, lows in the, it was getting down below in the 30s and up maybe 40s during the day. And then, 2 weeks later, we're in the 80s. It's crazy. We had 105 for a week now. Yeah, well, Arizona. It doesn't surprise me. Ellen, your husband heard what? About looking for a quail pin? Oh, no. Wanted me to recommend one. Well, see, maybe that's a way you can get him to get you some quail or to buy into it. I think I'm getting this right. You're the one that's trying to convince your husband. See, look up pictures of quail pins and say, I bet you couldn't build one better than that. See if he doesn't do it. Maybe that's not the best way to go about it, but it's a thought. Yep, Armed American, that's a good point. You can find a bunch of different ones on eBay. All right, where are we at on time? I think we're getting pretty late. Okay, getting close to having to wrap this up. Don't want to miss anybody's comments, but if I have to cut this short, you guys will understand. Walt says, would misters help in dry weather? Yeah, if you live in a dry climate. Now, here's the problem in southwest Missouri, is that we get up to 100 degrees, but it's 100 degrees with humidity. It's not like Arizona where it's 110, 115 degrees, but the humidity is really low. In that area, what they call a swamp cooler or a mister or something like that works really well. Don't work very well in southwest Missouri because the humidity is so high that the water just doesn't evaporate fast enough to really provide any kind of cooling. So here, you go outside in the summertime and you do anything and you're just drenched with sweat. I mean, it's dripping off of you. I remember being in Arizona. I spent about a month there, and you don't even feel like you're sweating. I mean, it evaporates off you so quick. It's a different environment. Handle the chick a lot as babies and make them pets and bribe them with food. Good suggestion there, Walt. Why no? Oh, there it is. Walter Camp came back with the name of those quail cages. Wynola Ranch. That's the one that makes quail cages. I hear good things about their cages. I think they're a little on the pricey side, but American made. It's going to cost a little bit more. And as far as I know, pretty good quality. And I think they're pretty nice cages. Hey, there's a good suggestion too, Alana. Using metal dog crates, line the floors with 1/2-inch hardware cloth, plenty of room. Seem quite happy. You can get them pretty cheap off Craigslist or garage sales. That's a really good suggestion, especially if you're going to keep them inside. If you're going to keep them outside, it wouldn't take much to put just a simple shelter over that too, to provide them with some wind block in cooler weather. And even in the summer, you don't want them out there where when the storms kick up, it's just blowing them. Right on them. You want to get them someplace where they can get in. You might be able to solve that just by putting a small box or something in there. I'd take the floor out so it doesn't just fill up with droppings. But some kind of small box that's covered, or at least halfway covered, so they can get in there and get out of the wind if they need to. All right. Hidden Bunnies, the truth about sugar video. Yeah, I already know about sugar. I lived through, I know sugar is the devil. I get that, and I know that. You know, I lived through the 80s whenever the, I'll tell you this story real quick. Let's see, do I have anything else I need to get answered? Yep, there's a good suggestion, Walt. Show the high-price cage. Ask Cubby to build one. Good night to you, cousins. Thanks for joining. I try to tell stories occasionally. I'll see what I can do on that. All right. Thanks for all your help. You're welcome. Oh, no. Well, I'm glad you made it this time, Hidden Bunnies. Your last live stream, it didn't work. Okay, let's talk about sugar for just a second. I will tell you guys this story because I remember when I was a kid, back in the 80s, all of a sudden it became like a big push to reduce fat and everything. And I can remember vividly, it was fat was bad, it caused cholesterol and heart disease and all those kinds of things. There is no scientific evidence behind that whatsoever. In fact, really the evidence is the other way around. There is not really any kind of health problems with fat. In fact, fat generally will, whenever you eat a high-fat diet, it fills you up quicker. It causes you to eat less. So people that eat higher fat diets typically lose weight, do better, you know, all those kinds of things. But there was a big push back in the 80s to take fat out of everything. And everything started coming out low fat. And it's still in the store. I mean, you still see it all the time. But it really started back in the 80s. And, excuse me, I'm drying up here. Okay, so some of you guys that are a little bit older, about my age, you'll probably remember that. Just all of a sudden, everything had to be low fat. Well, who was behind that push to get low fat in the foods was the sugar industry. And they were behind it because if you lower the fat in foods, that's where all the flavor is, you have to add sugar in order to get the flavor back up. So all that low-fat foods, they started adding sugar to it and stuff. So it was really the sugar industry that pushed to try to get everybody out there to believe that fat was bad for you. And really, it's the other way around. Sugar is what's bad for you. Fat is actually not bad at all. Eat a high-fat diet, low-sugar diet, low carbohydrates, that's just sugar, and you will lose weight. Same thing with our food pyramid. Our food pyramid's all mixed up. You know, it says you're supposed to have 2 servings of fruits and vegetables every single day. Well, it's not right. Not 2 servings of fruit anyway. You know how much sugar is in fruit? It's an incredible amount of sugar. You know, and if you think about it, if we go back to, you know, not that I want to get into this, you know, I don't know. You guys will understand what I'm saying. But if we go back to a time when, let's say there weren't supermarkets or anything around and we were just kind of scavenging for our own food, how often did we get fruit? We got it once or twice a year during when it became ripe and we harvested it, and that was it. We didn't get fruit twice a day. We didn't, you know, it's crazy. But anyway, that's a whole long story, and we could really go on for hours on that. And it's 3 minutes after 8. I got to get that cleared up. So, or I got to get out of here. Somebody's saying clear up my throat, huh? Seltzer water and not Pepsi keeps your throat clear and no sugar. It's a great suggestion, Kelly. This is my true addiction right here, and I don't really care if it's Pepsi or Coke. This is my true addiction. I am addicted to soda pop. I am a soda pop junkie. But I guess it could be worse. It could be an alcoholic or a drug addict or, you know, something like that. So I could have worse vices. Who knows? All right. I got to close this up, guys. I got to go visit family. Thank you again for all the super chats tonight. Thank you guys for joining and interacting with me. I appreciate it. I want to say God bless each and every one of you as always. And we will see you again next week. Good night.